Alright, we are going to take a look once again at Project Luddite, or the Tekra 8000 that is the basis of my Linux project. You see, I took a little bit of a break from this particular endeavor because it was doing nothing more than annoying me, and every single time I thought about it, the less and less interested I was in getting Linux running on this. But now that I've taken a break and a couple of days off, I've decided to try something a little bit different. If we take a look up here, move my drink out of the way so I can move the mouse around, and we look on our media drive, you will see that there are a bunch of ISOs here, some of which are for DVDs that I've burnt, but some of which are going to be the basis of this project. There's Linux Mint 8, which I've already used. What the heck? I'm knocking something over, but I don't know what it is. There's a red line around that for some reason, but whatever. We've got Ubuntu, Zorin, Peppermint, Manjaro, Lubuntu, which yes I am going to try, Damn Small Linux, Crunch Bang, and 2 different copies of Absolute. We're going to try all of these, some of which will not burn onto a CD. I am going to be using CDs when I have to. This only has a CD-ROM drive on it. I'm going to be using CDs for this, but I'm also going to try USB booting with this particular USB drive. So as for the media that I'm going to be using, I did buy, as you can see, some new Philips optical media. But I'm going to be using, because I've got 2 of them left, I'm going to be using this on-branded optical media. And we're going to see where we go from there. So I'm going to take the first disc here, and we'll pick which one we want to try first. Which one do we want to try first? Crunch Bang Crunch Bang won't burn because it's a DVD, basically. Unfortunately. Let's pick and let's burn and see what happens. Alright, disc is now burnt, and it verified successfully. So here's to hoping we're gonna find out. Now I think this is set up to boot properly. Oh, there was one other thing that I wanted, and it was the floppy drive. Let me move that. Move that out of the way. Let's see. Let's put the floppy drive. Install that here. I'm going to move that as well. Move some of this other crap out of the way because we don't need it for this particular job. I'm going to put that down, and we're going to plug it in and hope that we don't shoot it halfway across the room in the process. So we're going to make an attempt to install Absolute here. So let's start this up. What's it doing? Is it going to boot? Please boot. It looks like it's reading the CD, so that's always good news. Yep, there we go. Welcome to Absolute. If you need to pass extra parameters, usually not needed. Need to fix pre-installed system. If you don't need to enter any parameters, just hit enter. That is exactly what I'm going to do. And it looks like we are actually going to boot. But I'm not going to bore you with this entire boot process. And I'll come back once the desktop has loaded. I have come to the conclusion that in terms of on-branded optical media, I cannot have a single working piece of CD recordable media, even though the DVD RWs work just fine. My latest failure was this. You can see it's another one of these on-branded CD recordables. I don't know, you can kind of see that there's stuff burnt to it, I suppose. But it failed the verification process about 23% of the way in when I tried burning it on the computer. So I'll tell you what. If it doesn't want to have data burned to it, we'll burn something else to it. And oh, are we ever going to burn something else to it? Oh yeah, by the way, do not try this at home. Don't try it at work, don't try it at a friend's house, don't try it anywhere, because it is moderately dangerous, And also kind of stinks too by the end of it. Let's go. Let's show this thing who's boss. Here we go. Seriously, do not try this at home. That wasn't nearly as interesting as the first one. Kinda stinks. Well, what should have been an easy task of burning an ISO image to a disk, to a CD, and booting it up in here and installing another operating system didn't go so smoothly, and was compounded by the fact that I seemingly cannot have a single piece of working on-branded CD recordable media, even though the DVDs work perfectly fine. This was my first attempt. As you can see, there is something on it. Oh, maybe you can't see it, but anyway, there is something on this. It burned and verified fine, but when I put it into the actual computer itself, it managed to cause all heck to break loose, and eventually it dropped me straight into a full-fledged kernel panic. So that disk doesn't work, either that or the computer itself doesn't like it. The second disc, which you can see is no longer there because it is actually the one that ended up in the microwave, and then conversely the shredder, was the one that burned and then decided it wasn't going to verify. It failed at 23%. Fine. If this media does not want to work, we're going to do something else. As you can see, I do have a 50-pack of these. And so we're going to just use these instead if I can figure out how to open up the package, which evidently I can't do because I'm not smart enough for this. Let's see. Oh, come on. Or not. Yeah, that didn't work. Didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. Just what you guys wanted to see. An almost 1 minute long video segment of me opening up a pack of CDs. Let's see, did I get all of it? I think I got all of it. Alright then. What the heck? Are you kidding? They didn't even use one solid piece. One solid piece of foam. They just use a whole bunch of other pieces. That's real high tech. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take this. Take my camera. Over here. And we'll burn this particular piece of media. Let's see. Write image to disk. Let's do absolute 14. Let's see, is that gonna work? 358 sectors, 359 sectors. Yes, it is. Let's see. It only supports 16x as well. How lame is that? CMC Magnetics apparently makes this particular media. Yes, CMC Magnetics Corporation. Or something Magnetics Corporation, I don't know. Anyway, so we'll start that up. And maybe this will work. I don't know, we'll have to see. And while that's working, we can get rid of all the extra crap that we don't need. I suppose that these aren't actually recyclable, but what they don't know will hurt them. I don't think that went down. Alright, we are about 90% of the way through the verification run, which is much better than that stupid off-branded optical media, on-branded optical media could actually do. And it looks like we are done. Operation completed successfully. Or operation successfully completed, most likely. So let's unplug that. Or eject that. See, I'm mixing up all my words. Isn't that nice? And we will put it in optical drive on this system. And, of course, reboot. Once again, I'm not going to bore you with the entire boot process of this particular system, and I'll come back once it has finally started up from the CD. Now, this is what I like to see. Not do that. Set up the swap partition. That is what we're going to do. Yes, that is the swap partition. You want to check for bad blocks? No, don't need to do that. Perfect. SDA 5. But no bad block checking at ext4. That's what we want. And now we gotta play the waiting game while we wait for that to format. Alright, so that's formatted and should be all ready to go. So that these partitions, whatever. Yeah, sure. Yes, select that. Yes. Please enter the directory. Let's try that. Installed from an absolute CD, yes. That's good. Absolute will now install all packages. Remain calm while your... You didn't see that, did you? Well, I hope you saw it. Remain calm while your computer is assimilated. That's great. I like that. I love humor on the part of developers. Now, let's hope that it is actually going to work. But, which I guess proves that I'm something of an optimist, despite years of experience to the contrary. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what kind of system we get when we reboot. Knowing my luck, it's not going to have an X server, but that's fine. I can install one myself. Boot manager. Try to install Lilo. Yes. Use the standard. Player extra parameters. No, we don't need any of those. Unless you're using UTF-8 locale, using the old default, safer until some issues. Hit known for the safe choice. Install to the master boot record. Yes. Alright. So it's now installing. Unable to determine video adapter in use. Bitmap colors value out of range. Okay. PS2 port mouse. GPM, what is that? Sure. Do you want to configure your network? No. Samba. Sure, we'll install that because I do have a Windows network here. PCMCIA, we need that. All that should be fine. Try out some custom. No. I have no idea if it's sent to. Just hit no. We are US Eastern. Even though technically we're Canada, but. It's currently no password. Recommend. Alright, I'll go through the rest of this. You don't need to see it. I wonder if we've got a bad burn. Because it wasn't doing this before. Oh, there we go. I'm probably going to have to check this disk. This is the second time I've had to run the install. But whatever. Did not get that message the first time. And then we get a whole bunch of other error messages. Hopefully this is not going to go well, I already know. And if it doesn't, forget it. I'm not going to bother installing it. Like I suspected, we get no graphical user interface out of it. And I have no idea what the login credentials are. Because I didn't set any. Evidently, it is not incorrect. So, Absolute Linux is off of my list of distros to try. Next! That is hilarious. It can't even reboot. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a panic out of it yet. Something is seriously broken here. Here we go, folks. This right here is the reason why Linux will not ever be an everyday operating system for me, at least not at this current pace. I think I've said that hundreds of times during this entire endeavor. But anyway, so what happened now, you're thinking? Let's look at what happened now. So, we have no sound still, or at least as far as I can tell, we've got no sound. This, by the way, is Zorin OS. So we wait for it to load the frickin' menu. Apparently it takes a long time to load a menu. There's nothing here, but that's also because this is the light version, so it actually doesn't seem to run half badly, to be perfectly honest with you. Do I have any about this computer things going on here? I could probably have looked for it before I even started shooting this. Look changer, Windows wireless drivers, that's interesting. iBus, system information, I don't see it anywhere. Maybe it's under the task manager. But anyway, this is Zorin OS 6.2 Light Edition. So that's probably where I made my mistake. But anyway, let's not even talk about that right now. Let's talk about what went wrong here. So you can see that basically, apart from the almost 100% CPU usage, everything looks just fine. Until we go and try and load up a web browser. Let's do that. I'm sure you've probably already noticed what I'm about to complain about. Let's try and just load up a web browser and see if we can view any pages at all when it decides that it wants to load, which it might not do because this is, after all, a Pentium 2 366 with 256 megabytes of memory. Not fast. So I'll come back once that's loaded. Okay, so now we've got a Chromium window. And now we have no moving mouse pointer. Isn't that, that's highly productive. So let's close that, because it doesn't need to be open. Page is unresponsive. Well, gee, I wonder freaking why. Will you let me do something? Jeez. Wait a second. Fine. Fine. If that's what you want to do, you can go do it somewhere else. All I want to do is show these people something simple. Let's go to some random website. Actually, it's my website, so it's not exactly random. How convenient. It didn't even type any of that in. What a piece of junk. See, folks, Chrome is not lightweight at all. Granted, I'm trying to run this on a Pentium 2 366, but that shouldn't be a problem for something that is supposed to be lightweight. I didn't think so. But anyway, let's try loading this. That's another rant for another day. Let's try loading this page, and we will see what happens when it gets its act together and decides it wants to load something. Do you think this could take any longer? I certainly don't. Need to play some hold music or something. Well, it looks like it's now decided it's going to try and start loading it. Let's see. What's it doing? Unable to connect to the internet. Computer is not connected to the internet. Well, gee, what could be the problem here? I think I found the problem. As you can see, it has not initialized the network hardware. Now, I could understand if that were some obscure network card from some obscure company, or I don't know, some obscure piece of hardware, or a piece of hardware standard, such as this, because this doesn't even have a Windows driver, so I probably wouldn't work under Linux. I can understand why something like this wouldn't work under Linux. Or if it were a card by, I don't know, Stupidity Inc., and the card name is like, I don't know, Borkall 5000 or something. I don't know. But come on! We are talking about a PC MCIA network card. That is a 20-something-year-old standard. In fact, this is card bus, so it's probably more like 15, but still. And that is a Zircom Ethernet adapter 2PS, a Zircom network card. They are a fairly well-known manufacturer of network appliances, network cards, network interface devices, and it doesn't work? What the hell is wrong with the bozos in charge of designing this crap? Like, it works under every single other distro. It works under Ubuntu, and that is saying something, because nothing ever works under Ubuntu. But it doesn't work under this. Fine. You know what? If you don't want to work with my hardware, then you don't have to. I just won't use you at all. Next distro. And oh yes, because I will inevitably get the one or two people who are going to go in the comments and go, why didn't you just Google it? I did. I found nothing related to this problem at all. So either I'm entering the wrong search words, or nobody else is having this problem except for me. Which is a high possibility, because it seems that I always have problems with things, and every single other person on this planet does not. Again, another example of the fact that my life is an absolute comedy for somebody. But anyway, let's prepare to run the next distro, and instead of frustrating... Look at that, you can't even close Windows! It apparently has to spin up the CD-ROM drive in order to close a window. That is ridiculous. It should be built-in functionality. It's functionality that has existed since Windows 1.0 back in 1985. And even further beyond that, I'm sure, like, Windows systems existed beyond that, too. Xerox Alto, for God's sakes, could close Windows. Why is it that every single time I muster up the enthusiasm to run Linux on one system, on any one of my systems. Something like this always comes along and just frustrates the crap out of me and makes me lose interest at an astronomical rate. I don't get it. I'd like to think that someday this is going to change, which is, I guess, one of the many examples that I am something of an optimist despite years of experience to the contrary. And now it blanks the screen. Okay. Look at that. It's based on Ubuntu. Yeah, I guess that's why it doesn't work. Speaking of Ubuntu, it looks like Ubuntu does not do anything at all. So much for that idea. Well, I have now loaded Peppermint Linux. It's actually Peppermint 4, so I think it's the latest version of Peppermint, but it's the only one that I have. Everything all looks fine and good until you realize that things are not that great, because this is a look at a virtual machine that is basically untouched. Then if we take a look back here, you can see that there are some fairly serious problems. First of all, not only do I have no network, but the colors are all wrong. And apparently moving a mouse requires it to spin up the CD-ROM drive still. If we take a look at the menu, you can see that all the colors are definitely off. But there's one other thing. Take a look at the text there. Stupid autofocus. Take a look at the text. Evidently there is some kind of a problem, so this is not going to really work either. Guess I'm going to have to try a different distro once again. Well, that's moderately amusing. Looks like it does indeed have some fairly serious graphical user interface problems. Oh, isn't the X server lovely? Looks like this is all that it's going to do. I can't win. Especially can't win with crap like Linux. Let's try something else. You see, this has got a USB port on the side of it. So, what the hell? Let's try it. Look at that, it boots. Live session. Let's see if we can actually start this. Well, I won't bore you with this. Let's see what happens. Oops. Kernel panic. Let's see if we get a different result the second time we start it up. Or the third time, actually, we start this up. First time I didn't do anything, and now it's seems to be fairly seriously broken. And it looks like it's now going to do nothing. So that's a bust as well. And so is the focus on this camera. This has been going well. So far, we've managed to get a bad installation, a couple of blank screens, a failure to load a network driver, a hilarious video problem, and a kernel panic. So that's... So far I've been going along just fine. We've now got a copy of Manjaro, which by the way has ridiculous system requirements, but we're going to try it anyway. Just so I can prove to them how necessary 30 gigabytes of hard drive space really is not, if it decides it wants to even work. Which clearly it does not. Oh, I hate it when things are stupid. I hope there's nothing wrong with this USB stick because it's brand new, for God's sakes. Oop, there we go. Kind of. Let's just hit enter. Start Manjaro Linux, sure. Let's see if it will actually work. Oh yeah, it's kind of working. And it's booting. It is booting. So that's good. It's always a good sign. That looks promising. Ever so slightly. Oh, but it is still trying to run live media script this, and Pac-Man that, and all this other boundless crap that it probably doesn't even need to use at all, but I'll let it go ahead and do all of that. Woohoo! Well, everything just disappeared. I guess it's loading the X server now. Or sorry, I guess it's more properly known as the X Windows system. Because this is Linux after all. You have to refer to things as exactly what it's supposed to be. And we've now got a TTL terminal here. TTY terminal there. I don't know if it's going to load the X server. Yep, we've got an X server now. Alright, okay. Or X Windows system. I'm just gonna call it an X server. Because I really don't care that much. To be perfectly honest about it. I don't need to care because X server is technically what it is. Nope, we lost it again. It's trying. It is trying. So we'll see what happens. Ooh, the display server has been shut down about 6 times in the last 90 seconds. Can I log in? Oh yeah, I can. Try this. Alright. Use a stable installer, please. Holy crap. Okay. I want it's closest to me. Which is not on this list. There it is. August 26th. Yes. 25 minutes past the top of the hour. Yes. Disk preparation. SDA, yes. Whoops. What just happened? Oh, now it's trying to load the friggin' X server again. Like as if it's going to be able to do that. Alright, let's try the next one because Manjaro did not work. Ubuntu. Let's see, can I get that inserted right? There we go. Let's just go with live mode. Nope. Clearly, this is not gonna work. And we are now back to Project Luddite. Or, if you want to be less charitable about it, Project Scream at This PC because Linux sucks. Jeez. I have come to the realization that I cannot have a single working Linux install on any computer that I do. Every time, I tell you, I manage to find some problem, or I keep thinking to myself that there is going to be one time where the door just falls right out underneath me in Linux. Which is a darn shame, because don't get me wrong, I've got a powerful respect for what the Linux operating system actually is. A lot of people have criticized me on this in the past. Oh, you hate Linux, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. There's a definition between sucking and hating. Linux on the desktop, let's face it, Linux on the desktop sucks. It doesn't work, and I am under the impression that if you have absolutely no problems with it, then you must lead some kind of a charmed existence, because this kind of stuff happens all the time. Sound doesn't work. We're running anti-X once again, as you can see right there. And we're going to try something here. I'm going to see what I can do here. We're going to open up the terminal, really? Terminal apps? Those are terminal apps? Yeah, right. So the hierarchy in that system there is not exactly great. And I'm going to try and take a look at the ALSA tools and set up the card. I'm sure there is something here somewhere. Well, if the terminal would open, maybe I could do things this way. Alright, so let's see what this does. Hopefully I did not have to do that as a super user. We'll see what happens when I go ahead and run it. I don't think it's going to work. Mod probe command not found. Really? Really? What a joke that is. Considering that the ALSA tools clearly say that you're supposed to do that. That's a first. So it looks like I'm going to have to look into that. No sound cards found, you say? Well, I'm inclined to not believe you at all, because you're wrong. There is clearly a sound card in this system. If NT4 can access it, why can't Linux access it? Fine. Looks like we're going to be getting out some kind of other distro, because this does not want to work. Well, now we got a different error message. Instead of saying that the command isn't found, we now say that the module isn't found, which is the same error message I was getting before. Although I could vaguely recall having installed the module at some point, so not sure what's going on there. I think when I left off with this particular project, I was getting ready to swear at the Linux terminal because it was not allowing me to run a mod probe command successfully. I found another resource, and of course, I would be darned if I could find it now. Let's see if we can find it. Yes, that bug still exists in YouTube, and it is still about as annoying as it was when it first came. Holy moly. Yeah, good luck. I found this page, which was like, compile this, you know, get the libraries, configure this, blah, 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 do all this stuff here. But anyways, I'd like to tell you that doing that worked. But in reality, the ALSA programmers, the people behind the, I don't know what ALSA actually stands for, but the people behind that particular project need to be ashamed of themselves, because that is the most cluttered, the most hard to find, hard to navigate through, and very undocumented, and what little documentation there outright lies about how it works, program or module system that I've ever seen before. It was impossible to try and navigate those folders and find what I need. So in the end, I just gave up and decided, well, you know what, we can just do without. So it is still running anti-X Linux, as you will probably see in a second. I should probably plug in the network adapter if I could find it. Apparently I can't do that either. There we go. There it is. Get this out of the way and hurry up. We're plugging it in. Come on. Come on. Here we go. So as you can see, it is still running anti-X, but it still doesn't have any sound, and I'm just going to leave it alone. No, instead of getting frustrated with configuration files that are documented completely inappropriately, and messing around with FTP sites that are not organized at all correctly in a way that is easily navigatable, no. Forget it. I'm not even going to get into a gigantic rant about it because I don't have to. It's fairly obvious. I'm going to say right now, anybody looking into trying and compiling their own ALSA drivers that hasn't ever done any driver compilations before, don't. Don't even bother. Especially not with this Linux sound system that, again, Pulse Audio is a joke and should have been phased out years ago. And then again, I don't think the open sound system is any better, but still. I mean, it works. The system itself works and works beautifully. The browser, I don't think the browser's up to date. I'm going to actually run updates on this right now. One thing, I think I've mentioned it before, that I would like people to tell me is, if somebody knows why this is, why does the system put its cooling fan on whenever it's charging the battery? I would really like to know. The 8100 does not do that, and this is actually basically the only system I've ever seen that does that. Okay, come on, there we go. We'll mark all upgrades, if there are any that need to be installed, which... oh, there are. Update to Iceweasel, and a couple of other things. And we're going to apply those changes. Just those 3 packages? Alright then. See, it's now downloading. At about the normal speed for a 10 megabit network. You know what I just noticed? I think it is blinking the wrong light. I think it's supposed to blink the yellow light. That or it's blinking both, or the green light is getting ready to fail. I have no idea. Alright, so that is now complete. And we can close it. I want to close it, which apparently is not possible. Why is it so hard to close a program? Oh, that's right, this is Linux. It has to complete every single thing before it can do something. Anyway, we're going to shut this down and we're going to take a look at the next Linux project, because this is not going to be the only Linux machine that I've got. In this bag, right here is, I believe that's what this is. This is the Toshiba. The IBM ThinkPad T42. That is exactly what is in here. And that I'm going to set up as a Linux box, but I'm going to be using a different distro. So we're going to set that up and get ready to run Linux on that.